Fired. I was fired at 35. I had been suffering from severe depression and PTSD for nearly a decade, on and off probably a dozen different medications. And I had an insurance change at work at the beginning of that year, and I went back into the darkness. Wasn't on medication. I was unable to find a new doctor who was accepting new patients. And my employer, a major airline at the time, required a doctor's note for absences exceeding 5 days. They finally lost patience, and I was terminated. I felt nothing but relief. I hated that job at that point. It was good money. My employer prided itself on paying their employees the highest in the industry at the time. And I also just don't like working. I had a lot going on due to the depression. I was really not taking care of my son very well, which only created more depression. But after I was fired, I was able to get on state disability, so that helped ease things financially a little bit and got me to a doctor to get back on medication. But I was never good with money, and state disability was a lot less than I was making at the airline. And therefore, I ended up evicted from my home. Living in Southern California wasn't necessarily cheap, but it was back then in the early 2000s, at least more affordable than the same place goes for now. Because of that eviction, I moved up to Northern California to be closer to where the rest of my family, for the most part, was living. I moved to just up the road from my brother and just up the hills from my other brother. So it was close to family. They helped me out with my son, and I finally got off state disability and went back to work. Much more peaceful jobs. I didn't spend time on the phone as much. Well, sort of. I did, because that's what I knew. Those didn't last long, but I was still much happier. I felt healing. And in fact, I haven't had to deal with severe depression or PTSD, as I was diagnosed, since over 20 years. And I had dealt with it for over a decade. So I would call getting fired and evicted at 35 a blessing in disguise. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.